Because wherever we go and whatever we are doing, we never know when we are going to come across someone who either needs our products or needs our business opportunity, which means we should always have in mind the people that we meet, how it is that we can be of service to them as Neolife distributors. So for today's session, you might have seen in your invitation that I'm going to be speaking about respiratory health. And this is another important aspect of our training where we speak about this very important system and its health. So the respiratory system, as you probably remember from your school days, is a system which enables us to undergo gaseous exchange within our bodies because, as you know, we do need to constantly supply ourselves with oxygen and to get rid of the carbon dioxide that is a byproduct of our cellular activities. So the main organs that are involved in our respiratory system are the lungs, which work hand in hand with our air passages, the muscles around our ribs, and also at the sheet of muscle that is at the base of our ribs, the one called the diaphragm. So this system originates from the nostrils and also the mouth. The nostrils are actually the ones that are best suited for taking in air and also taking out the byproducts, the gaseous products from our bodies. And in addition to that, the lungs and the air passages and the muscles, we also have the blood circulatory system, which participates in this gaseous exchange by distributing the gases that we are either taking in or letting out. So once the gases reach the lungs, they move in solution inside the blood, and then they are circulated either to the rest of the body or from the rest of the body back to the lungs, where the carbon dioxide and other byproducts will be breathed out. So you see that this is a very huge system. Not only does it include the organs directly involved in taking in or taking out air, but also the circulatory system within us. So let us look at how we can optimize this system. How can we have an optimum respiration? The first, of course, is that we require a regular supply of good quality air. And what can interfere with our air supply? There are a few points I wanted to bring up. One of them is one with which we are quite familiar, especially if we live in the cities. This is air pollution, which comes from a variety of sources. So, for example, from smoke emitted by factories or vehicles. Also, we have things like dust that might also pollute the air. And these, of course, are small particles that will be in the air we breathe, and this can actually have an effect on us. Of course, the smoke can also be from cigarette smoking, either by our own selves or by people with whom we share a space. Then, apart from air pollution, we also have poor ventilation, whether in our homes or in our work premises. So ventilation refers to how we allow air to circulate within buildings. And this is important because, of course, we need air to be able to come into wherever we are. And also that air can also circulate outwards. So if this is not well taken care of, it will interfere with our ability to respire effectively. Then we also have things like pollen and mold, which are part of the plants that grow around us. And these can cause allergies as well as inflammation, and even in some cases, some can cause diseases or contribute to diseases. So these will be also floating in the air, especially in the form of their spore, the mold spores, or the pollen from flowers and trees. And mold spores especially like warm, moist places, which means they will be happy in places which are poorly ventilated, poorly lit, and where there is maybe the air is not circulating very well. Then another source that can affect the quality of air that we are getting is the home care products that we use, if we are not using the Neolife home care range, I think this is something we should consider, because our home care range takes care of the atmosphere in our home. Because you'll remember a few weeks ago we spoke about detoxing our homes. So one of the first points about detoxing our homes and our environment is using the Neolife home care range, because they do not have this tendency to exude harmful fumes or to leave behind harmful residues. So some of the home care products out there that we might use can have this effect of producing fumes or leaving behind residues that can be harmful to us. This can even include things like the air fresheners that we randomly buy. Some of them can actually be quite harmful to our health. So rather than spend money on a lot of air fresheners, I would recommend that we use our home care range to make sure that our homes are well cleaned and free from any harmful agents, but also free from any harmful byproducts or fumes that can come from the cleaning material that we are using. So those are some of the things that can interfere with the good quality of our air, and I'm sure we can come up with other sources of air pollution and so on. But now let me move on to the next point, which is the breathing. So breathing, of course, is an important component of our respiration. We have the organs, but the organs have got to do their function, which starts with breathing in and out. So breathing through the nose is actually something quite important that we often don't think about, because the nose is the one best suited to filter the impurities that might find their way into our air as we breathe in. And it also enhances the volume of air that we are able to breathe in and breathe out. There may be a tendency to breathe through the mouth, and I'll come to that in the next point. But for now, just to emphasize the importance, especially if we are parents, to try to encourage our children to be in the habit of breathing through their noses rather than their mouths. So this is because more and more from our lifestyle now, it's becoming clear that we are having children getting into this habit of breathing through the mouth for reasons such as maybe they have allergies and their noses are blocked and so on. So an important reason for dealing with any respiratory problems that our children have is so that they do not develop this habit of not breathing through their noses and rather breathing through their mouths. The reason I will speak a bit about in the next point about mouth breathing, but for now, just to take note of that important first step of our respiratory system, that is to breathe through our noses, because our nose is connected to things like our sinuses, and our noses have got little hairs and mucus. All of these have the important work of purifying the air as we breathe it in. Then other ways in which we can improve our breathing is by getting into the habit of breathing out completely. Sometimes we get in the habit of shallow breathing. That is, we don't breathe in deeply enough or breathe out totally. And that means that our lungs are never working at full capacity, which means that our body is not being supplied with as much air, as oxygen, as we are able to, and we are not able to expel as much carbon dioxide as we should, which that means that we are in some way failing to do this simple detox of breathing out the carbon dioxide, which is a byproduct of our cellular activity. So we should get into the habit of breathing in deeply and breathing out completely to ensure that our breathing is actually efficient. We can, if we are not in the habit of doing this, or we want to try and improve this, one thing that can help is to count. Maybe when we have got a moment, we can breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly and completely, and count as we do so, to just see how effectively we are breathing. This may sound a bit odd, but if you think about the fact that we are one of the signs that we are alive is that we are breathing. It tells you that life and breathing are very closely connected. So the better we breathe, the better we are supplying our body with the important component of oxygen, and also the more thoroughly we are removing the toxic byproduct of carbon dioxide from our systems. Then another way of improving our breathing is by maintaining good posture. This is another area where bad habits have crept in from our long hours of sitting down. Not only are we in the habit of sitting down for prolonged periods, sitting already compresses our chest's compartment, which is where our lungs are located. So not only sitting, but also slumping when we are seated. And we are noticing this also in children, and also generally as we get in the habit of using our cellular phones, because we bend over on our phones or on our laptops, and that means we are compressing our chest cavity, which means that our lungs are not actually able to expand and contract effectively to do their work of respiration. So maintaining a good posture by getting in the habit of sitting upright. I see some people have certain kinds of chairs that they use to encourage themselves to sit upright. Other people even go so far as sitting on those inflated rubber balls to force them into the habits of sitting upright because of the problems they have developed from poor sitting positions. So to try and encourage sitting in a good posture, I do remember when we were younger, our parents and teachers were always insisting that we should sit upright. And I think this is something we should go back to cultivating, because now, in addition to the poor habit, there's also the habit of staring into screens that encourages us to slouch down. This leads not only to poor breathing, but also can lead to back pain. And this can start even in the earlier years, like in the teenage years, that the young people already start having back problems from maintaining a bad posture. Then another point is to drink plenty of water, enough water daily, because water is an important part of our good health, and it plays a part in our respiration as well. Because remember that the gases that we breathe in and out are circulated in the blood, which is a water-based liquid. So making sure that we are well hydrated is important. And a certain amount of aerobic exercise regularly also helps us to improve our lung capacity. So this aerobic exercise is exercise that gives us an opportunity to increase our breathing rate and our heartbeats a little bit. It doesn't mean that we are exercising so hard that we are out of breath or our hearts are racing, but that we do something maybe at least 3-4 times a week, where we see that our hearts are beating strongly and our breathing is increased. This ensures that our lungs get periodically in the habit of inflating fully and exhaling fully. So incorporate that, whatever type of aerobic exercise you like. It might be jogging, it might be walking, it might be swimming, cycling, and so on. All these can do. They will contribute what we need to improve our breathing. Then, of course, a last point I want to add there is resolving our stress and stressors, because I think we are all aware that when we are stressed, our breathing can become shallow because we are anxious or afraid or something like that. So resolving our stresses and our stressors can also improve our breathing. Or when we are under stress, to consciously do those breathing exercises where we deliberately take time to breathe in deeply and breathe out completely. This can be something that we use maybe to deal with a time when we are especially anxious, or when we are struggling to maintain our composure or temper. Maybe we have a teenager in the house who has done something that has made us so angry. Before we react and speak to them, maybe it would be a good opportunity to take a little time to take some deep breaths in and out to calm ourselves down, but also to improve our breathing for that moment. So those are some of the points I wanted to raise. But now the next thing I wanted to speak about is habitual mouth breathing. I think I mentioned this when I was speaking about oral health. And it's another thing that is becoming more and more apparent. Of course, depending on the way our teeth are, it might be more difficult for us to keep our mouths closed and to avoid breathing through the mouth. Also, if we have got a blocked nose as a result of illness or allergies, if maybe we have our sinuses are inflamed, we can find that this forces us to breathe through our mouth because our noses are not able to breathe in well. So again, as I mentioned before, we should deal with the issues that lead to blocked noses, whether it is allergies or flu and so on, so that we are able to breathe through our nose. Another thing that contributes to this is swollen tonsils or adenoids, which are in our throat at the back of our mouth. These are two important organs, which I remember when we were young people, they had started a habit of having them extracted. I think that this is not entirely a good idea to extract the tonsils or the adenoids randomly, because they do have an important role to play, because they trap some of the germs that might enter our mouth or our noses as we breathe. And so unless it becomes a serious medical issue, we should not just routinely remove tonsils and adenoids. We should rather deal with the problem that causes them to swell and get inflamed, because we do not have extra organs in our bodies that can just be removed at will. So even though we had fallen into that habit of routinely removing tonsils or adenoids, I think more and more research is showing that it is not a good thing, because when they are removed, we become even more susceptible to infections, because we lose an important two small but important organs that help in our immune system. Then habitual mouth breathing can also be as a result of abnormalities in our nasal passages, in the way our nose is actually formed. So if we have some of those problems that maybe can be rectified, but others might not be easily rectified, so the breathing through the mouth can sometimes just be a habit that develops, and which maybe we are not aware we should try to get rid of. And also, especially to train our children with this as they grow up. So the mouth is not actually best suited for breathing. It does not have the filtration systems that the nose has, and it does not have the good capacity for deep breathing that the nose has. So just to reiterate, that the nose is best suited for breathing in and out, and we should try to use it as such and get out of the habit of breathing through our mouths whenever possible. This is sometimes difficult because at night some people do tend to end up breathing through their mouth when they are fast asleep, but there are some gadgets that can now be used to rectify this, to encourage us to breathe through our noses. Okay, so nose breathing, very important. Mouth breathing, a habit that as far as we are able, we should get out of. Then another point I want to bring in is the things that reduce the effectiveness of our respiratory system. This can be, the system itself can be affected by inflammation of the air passages. This can be inflammation of the sinuses or of the throat, that the throat is swollen, and so on, or the tonsils and so on. This can be the result of allergic reactions to pollen and other such things in the air. Then, and as I mentioned, this kind of thing is what leads us to get in the habit of breathing through our mouths, which is less than optimum. Cigarette smoking and chronic secondhand smoke can also cause our respiratory system to not work very well. And you notice that people who are in the habit of smoking do tend to be susceptible to respiratory infections, coughs, and other such problems. Obesity, excessive weight gain, and bad posture can get us into the habit of breathing shallowly, which means that our respiratory system is not functioning well. And in addition to that, respiratory illnesses, and if we are we find ourselves in places which are of very high altitude. So some of those we can mark them and see if we can do anything about them in order to support our respiratory system. Now I turn my attention to our Neolife supplements that play an important role in our respiratory health. We have a number of them which help us to optimize the function of our respiratory system, and we use them in conjunction with a healthy diet as well as healthy habits. The first two that I want to mention are omega-3 salmon oil and garlic allium. These help to fight inflammation in the body, and by fighting inflammation, we make sure that our air passages are clear and open enough to allow good air circulation when we are breathing, and that we do not have irritations that lead to coughing or sneezing and so on. So omega-3 salmon oil and garlic allium play an important role in the reduction of inflammation in our air passages. And then the next one is vitamin D, which we can use either as vitamin D plain or we can use vitamin A plus D. The deficiency in vitamin D is one that often makes us easily attacked by respiratory illnesses. Of course, we know that our skins are able to make vitamin D when our skin is exposed to the sun. So if you have an opportunity to spend time in the sun, this is excellent because our skins, when exposed, sometimes I mentioned that we can make vitamin D through our skin, but the skin does need to be exposed to the sun. So if you are spending time in the sun, maybe it should be with a short-sleeved shirt and maybe a pair of shorts or a skirt so that the legs and the arms and maybe the face are exposed to the sun so as to maximize the benefits of the rays of the sun. If for one reason or another we are not able to spend adequate amounts of time in the sun, then of course we can supplement from our Neolife vitamin D or vitamin A plus D. Then the other supplements that are important for our respiratory health is vitamin C and flavonoid complex. These are used by the body to maintain healthy air passages and membranes, and to repair them when they have been damaged either by illness. Let's say we have had a flu or we've had a cold or we have had pneumonia and things like that. Then vitamin C and flavonoid complex are excellent for helping the body to repair them and also for maintaining these tissues in good condition. So those are very important. In fact, one of the vitamins that we strongly recommend that you take regularly is vitamin C. And remember, for young children, we do have the chewable All-C that is easy for them to use because this is a very important component for their respiratory health. Then we have the herbal respiratory complex, which is a herbal preparation that helps to keep the air passages clear and in good condition. And then finally, of course, for young children, we've got VitaGuard that has got antioxidants, a range of antioxidants. And we also, as I mentioned, have All-C. And for infants, we'll have these vitamins contained in the Liquivite. So everybody can make use of these supplements to maintain their a good health, respiratory health, because our respiratory system is that one that is at work at all times. We are always breathing in and out, and we are always exposed to all kinds of things that might bring about problems to our respiratory system. So I think that in our daily supplementation, we should include something that is going to assist our bodies in maintaining a healthy respiratory system. Then on the lifestyle side, just to mention, having a diet that has got plenty of fruits and vegetables, herbs and spices. Some of the spices actually help in our respiratory health by supporting our reduction in inflammation. I mentioned already garlic. This can be the garlic supplement, but we can also have garlic in our food. Things like some of the chili, if you like it, can actually help with reducing inflammation. Then where possible in our lifestyle, we should avoid environmental pollutants that can cause allergies or other kinds of illnesses. Then we should clean and air our beddings regularly, because this can be a source of dust and dust mites, which can cause allergies for certain people. So to take the beddings outside, to keep them clean and well aired, because when we expose them to the sun and the air, we eliminate some of these things that like mold that might be growing in there, and so on. Then, of course, ensure good ventilation in our homes and the work areas. And we can do this, we should do this even at night. I know that sometimes as a result of security and the problems of crime, this might be a bit of an issue, but as far as possible, to be mindful that it is important to have good ventilation in our surroundings. Because remember, we evolved to live outdoors actually. So if we are spending time indoors, we should take care of our air supply. Then, as I mentioned, the practice of deep breathing, so that we optimize our lung capacity, so that our lungs are used to taking in plenty of air, and then also to help our children to get into these good habits of nose breathing and deep breathing. So I have 1 or 2 minutes in which I wanted to mention a few points about questions to do with the respiratory system. One was asthma in a child. And here, as I've mentioned, we identify the triggers, because asthma can often be linked to allergies that act as triggers to the asthmatic attack. It could be environmental pollutants, pollen, certain types of things from household chemicals. So we should take care of that. And if you have an asthmatic child, it's quite important that we use the home care range for cleaning our houses. And in addition to that, we provide them with VitaGuard, omega-3 salmon oil, and herbal respiratory. And we can also add to that chewable oil C to help them to deal with the asthma. Then seasonal allergies was another, I think the last one I'll mention. So this is something that happens periodically for some people. I know for myself here in Southern Africa, once the springtime comes, when plants start growing and producing lots of flowers, you can start having allergic reactions. And as I say, this can also be something that brings about asthmatic attacks. Certain people find that certain foods worsen these seasonal allergies. So one of the lifestyle things we can think about is trying to identify the foods that worsen allergies. For some people, it's dairy. For some people, it's wheat. And for some people, it's both or other things. So in addition to taking care of those lifestyle points, we recommend omega-3 salmon oil, herbal respiratory complex, and flavonoid complex for allergies. I find for myself, because I have been an allergy sufferer and it comes on and off, flavonoid complex works very well, in addition to vitamin C and omega-3 salmon oil. If you've got very severe allergies, then the herbal respiratory complex can also be added in. So I want to thank you very much at this juncture for giving me this time to present this session to you. I hope you have found it of benefit and informative for your own self in your personal capacity, but also, as always, to be able to extend some information and education to the people we come across, so as to make their lives healthier and happier. Because when we are ill, I know that if you're suffering from some of these respiratory illness, it can actually seriously impact on your quality of life. So I encourage all of us, we go out there and share this information, share our products, and do what we do best, which is to use Neolife as a vehicle of making all that we meet healthier, wealthier, and happier. So I want to hand you over to Pascal, who is standing by now. But meanwhile, let me thank you very much and wish you all the best as we start on this month of November. Here is Pascal now.
Thank you very much, Betty. I think just like our body needs very good respiratory system, our business also needs a good respiratory system. And what I'm alluding to is we always need new blood in our business. The session that we had planned to do this evening is two things. One is the business building system. Why is that important? That is important because remember, most people who join this business join for two things: financial freedom and time freedom. We can only acquire those two if we learn how the business building systems helps us to acquire those two things. So if you allow me to share the screen with you. But before we get into discussing the business system, I want to share with you a few ideas on how to meet new people, because I think